Yes, succinctly put.
But these hacks do provide fascinating commentary, I find, and when they don't, Sky News has installed an emergency boring pundit fail-safe system.
I think the margin of this change of government is what everyone's interested in, although when you talk to coalition officials and MPs and workers and volunteers, of course...
It was a terrible mistake, you know, letting Chris Kenny talk for that long.
I think Chris Kenny does make some excellent points, though, Andrew. Like, for instance, I enjoyed the way it took him almost an hour after Tony Abbott's victory speech to start demanding cuts to the ABC.
They need to actually start to question the $1.1 billion they throw to the ABC, for instance.
You know, I agree. I mean, they've just got to cut ABC funding. I mean, this is a network that broadcasts images of Chris Kenny strangling a dog while having sex with it.
Disgusting. Worse still, they then handed him over to Channel 9 to feed him to the sharks. Oh. ABC, what a terrible network. So juvenile.
Very child. I mean, they've got to be cut. Got to be cut. Of course, now, the busiest...
Now on 2GB, Media Watch.
There's an alternative universe that isn't ABC, that is intelligent, and that isn't of the left.
Media Watch with Andrew Bolt.
Now look, the ABC.
Oh no, not again.
The ABC. Now listen, I don't know whether you watched The Hamster Decides this week.
Well, I read your column today in the Telegraph.
Look, these guys, now they'll claim they're not partisan, although some of them clearly are of the left. But it's, you know, they play their jokes to suit the audience. And on The Hamster Decides, this is the Chaser Boys on the ABC TV, this week they crossed a line. Chris Kenny is a friend of mine, may I say. He did work for the Liberal government, the Howard government, as a staffer. His sin in the eyes of the ABC and of the Chaser Boys in particular is to think that the ABC is far too big. And it is. I mean, it's got, 4, 5 TV stations?
Yep.
How many radio stations?
4
I can't tell.
Triple J, the Metro
Radio
stations,
National, Classics, local radio.
4 at least.
Unbelievable. They've got essentially an online newspaper now.
Yep.
So they're eating Fairfax's lunch. They've got Twitter feeds. They've got bookshops. They are huge. And they're expanding. And they're crowding out other private media organisations. Fairfax the other day was complaining that it's finding it hard to compete. And here's the thing, it's uniformly of the left.
And you've been saying this for years.
I've been saying it for years. It is uniformly of the left. Against this charter, 100% of voters have to pay for it with their taxes, and they get politics reflected of less than half the percent of the population. That's not fair, it's not right, it's not in accordance with the charter, and something should be done about it. But this is the problem. This is the risk you take when you point this out. Chris Kenny pointed this out. He's with the Australian and on Sky. He pointed out...
And he'll be with us in a moment.
Oh, great. Well, then I'll ask him. But for his sins, on the hamster wheel this week, or last week, he was shown a photoshopped image for doing this. He was shown with someone's pants down, having sex with a dog, and all spelled out, and I can't even say it on the radio. That's how rude it was.
Well, we read it.
Chris Kenny, dog effer, but spelled out in big letters. Now,
the actual word?
The actual word. Chris Kenny, dog effer, the actual word, spelled out with a picture of, allegedly, Photoshop picture of him actually doing the deed on a dog.
Well, I hope he's suing them.
This is your ABC. Now, the ABC, when it was created, was supposed to be a cultural icon. It still runs symphony orchestras, doesn't it? I mean, this is insane. It is trashy. And, in fact, ABC 2, it's not an accident, too. ABC 2 right now is running promotions. That's their second TV channel. They paid a couple of, quote, comedians to put together a clip promoting ABC2, which says, and I can't even say this either because it's we've got some standards, unlike the ABC. ABC2, suck my, and then think of an appendage.
Really?
And that's your money being paid. It's just
Well, what's
just
Mark-
to say, it's just Mark Scott
How
is
does
the
Mark
managing
Scott
director.
let
He's
that
supposed to
sucker
be
do?
a Christian, and he doesn't even know that lines have been crossed. But the whole point is to here, Chris Kenny, a critic,
He's on the
and he
line.
gets that said about him. Chris, thanks for joining us, mate. Could you believe what you saw last week?
Look, I couldn't believe it, Andrew. G'day.
You're on a speakerphone, mate. Can you just pick it up?
Oh, sorry.
No, that's all right. That's much better.
Look, I couldn't believe it. I was actually out at dinner. It wouldn't surprise you that I don't sit around watching the hamster decides, but people got in touch with me and I had a look, and I looked on iView afterwards, and I was just staggered. I mean, sure, I'm a critic of the ABCs. I engage in a bit of robust debate with their people from time to time. I've been on their programs to chat about issues, but, if they want to poke fun or slap me down, there's a million different ways they could do it. But that way was just offensive. It was offensive to anyone who was watching, no matter who it was done to.
I still find it just beyond almost comprehension that this could go on the ABC. You know how this goes, Chris, because they write a script. It's a collective organisation, so the team has a look at what is said. It goes to a producer. They run it past lawyers. They do.
How could that have gone past a lawyer?
Hey?
How could that have gone past a lawyer?
How could any of that? I mean, just on taste, there's two things. The defamation, but the taste test as well. Chris, you have an excellent show on Sky. If you, on your show on Sky, put up a picture of David Marr, okay? A huffster of the left. If you put David Marr up there, photographed as you were, and the words David Marr dog effer on it, how long would you be at Sky?
Look, I wouldn't have a job, Andrew. You know it. I mean, it's ridiculous. The same as you and Steve. If you did that sort of thing on air, you'd be sacked by management immediately because you would know that you're crossing a line of public taste. You're offending the public. There would be complaints through ACMA or the like anyway that would work their way through the system. But the bottom line is just accountability measures within your own organisation. You'd be out of a job. You just could not do it. And this
So
is
explain to me.
extraordinary
You explain to me how the ABC can do it.
Well, that's exactly it. That's my point about it. In many ways, by doing this, they have proved tenfold my greatest criticisms of the ABC. That is, there just seems to be no accountability. Mark Scott's obviously set in place no measures or standards of accountability in the organisation.
Well, Chris, you don't need my advice, but why not pick up the phone and ring and ask to speak to Mark Scott? It's Chris Kenny from the Australian and Foxtel here, Sky News here. And when he comes on the phone, say, are you aware that I've been described as a dog effer on your television
Not just described,
network?
Photographed
and shown. What are you going to do about it?
Well, this is the point. I will write him a letter at some stage, but the point is, Steve, that he knows about this, and I've spoken about it on TV subsequently, and his people are aware of it, and the people that on his payroll who get involved in these debates day in, day out, were screaming about the treatment of Julia Gillard with, ditch the witch signs and whatever. They're all silent. You hear nothing, and I've had nothing from Mark Scott.
You make a really good point, Chris. This should not be up to you to complain.
Exactly.
This should be proactive. These guys should think, what the hell? We have this TV station on trust from the public, and we allowed that to go to air.
So I guess their excuse.
They should be crawling to you.
But Andrew,
tell me, Chris, if you
Andrew,
heard one
you know
thing,
what they'll say. They'll say it's satire.
No, that's not good enough because it is
That's
so
what they'll
pointed.
say.
Yeah.
They'll say that, but I mean, it's just a matter of public decency. I mean, my sister and her children were sitting watching that show, enjoying it with her teenage boys, and had a bit of a glimmer of laughter when they heard my name come up, thinking they were going to see their uncle, and then they see their uncle up a dog. Courtesy of parents' own hard-earned tax dollars. I mean, it is just beyond the pale. I find it difficult to understand how grown human beings, adults, would actually think they could do this and put it to air.
And Chris, the thing is, I can't even say the word out that they showed and spelled out. I mean, that shows already that lines have been crossed. Now, the thing that got you this enmity, of course, is that you are a critic of the ABC. You are a conservative. I'm I'm informed that the person that might have written that joke is not a political partisan, but I can't imagine that done to anyone that wasn't a Conservative.
Well, we just know it wouldn't. Would they ridicule or offend Tim Flannery or Julia Gillard?
They've ridiculed Tim Flannery, but would they show him having sex with a dog and call Tim Flannery dog effer?
No, well, I just can't imagine. I can't imagine that they should or would do that to anyone.
And I don't even want them to do that.
No, I don't. I just can't. They shouldn't. But why they decided to do it to me is beyond my understanding. Although one of them did email me and say that therefore one of the reasons was I could take a joke. But
that's not a joke. I couldn't take. Hey, you might be able to take that joke. I couldn't take that joke. I don't want my children to take that joke. I don't want the children down the road to take that joke. I don't want people to take that kind of thing as a joke. That is not a joke.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. I didn't see the funny side of it. I thought just on public taste grounds alone, they should not be allowed to do that sort of thing.
We'll watch with great interest how Mark Scott digs himself out of this little hole.
Let's just before you go, Chris, has anyone from the ABC, apart from someone on the Chaser, and I presume that you can't say who and what they said, has anyone from the ABC contacted you about this?
One bloke from the Chaser sent me a personal email to try and explain the joke, but I've heard nothing in an official capacity from anyone with any authority at the ABC.
It wasn't an apology, it was an explanation of the joke. Just like you didn't get it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so you're laughing now?
What I'd written on Twitter. Yeah.
Good on you, mate.
Thanks, Chris. Appreciate your time, mate. 10 to 9.